So now you going into going into this summer, this would be considered that coveted final summer of travel ball and whatnot.
Right.
What was that? What was that experience like? Your final summer traveling? Was it something that? Because like nowadays, I know all the high school kids, they cherish that last summer of man, we in Vegas, we in Atlanta, we in. So was that the mindset back then, where it's like, man, this is our final time traveling together, and did people cherish it like that? And what memories do you have from that final summer?
Yeah, no, I think for sure. Like, and once again, I think for me, just building with guys, man, and creating relationships, man. Because it's, once again, you go through the school season, the high school season, but then you keep track of your friends at different schools, and then when you guys play in the summer and the spring, it's like a recap. You got, we hang out, and talk and kind of have fun and all that kind of stuff. So, I can remember that. I can remember I think it was a tournament in California, and then it was one in Phoenix. So it was all West Coast. Obviously playing against some good competition. Now I came out in '96, so when you do that '96 class and who was in that '96 class?
Yeah, I know on the East Coast we obviously had the Bean, we had Tim in Jersey. I don't know who else was in there.
Shaheen Holloway.
Yeah,
right.
Jersey,
so,
right.
But guys like that, like I was saying, so then '96, Jermaine O'Neal, you go Steven Jackson, West Coast Mike Bibby. Like it was just down the line. It was crazy. So, and a lot of those guys, once again,
high school class.
Yeah, and ended up going pro, right?
Right.
Some out of high school.
Right.
Some did 1 year like a Tim. So,
right.
You go on and you're playing in these tournaments, like, yo, this is really basketball. So I think that was, having a lot of those players in the same gym and then being able to compete against them. I can remember chasing Richard Hamilton '96 too. Like he was doing that, coming off the picks and all that back then. Right? So, but I'm just saying the names, if you go down the list and those guys, high Division I, NBA, some of them is
first team All Pros, MVPs.
Right. Yeah. Some of them is gonna be, Hall of Famers.
Hall of Famers.
Right. So
it's a tremendous class.
Yeah. And so coming out, it was just like in those guys being in the same gym and getting ready to, being able to compete. And now everybody's, we're not freshmen no more. So everybody's mature. They ready. They trying to prove themselves. They, got a certain amount of offers. They getting ready to go. Some guys have already committed, So it's just, I just remember that being an exciting time because it was like, yo, this is who you're gonna be playing against at the next level.
Right.
These are guys that you might, be on recruiting visits with, things of that nature. So it was just, I can remember just being out west and being at those tournaments and being like, yo, it was just exciting, man. It just, I remember it being a great time for me because I'm like, damn, this is what basketball is really about. And at that time, obviously people were coming and, filming things and putting things on, that's when you had the VHS tapes and all that. But, able to watch like, games and guys, high school games on TV. But, and I could just remember me being fans of the older guys. You know what I mean? It's just, it was just, like I said, it was an exciting time.
How much winning did y'all do that summer, Riverside? I know Riverside was doing a whole bunch of winning in the '90s, so.
Yeah. I like, I don't know, like record-wise, I couldn't tell, but we definitely won a bunch of tournaments. We won a bunch of tournaments, and and the thing about the team that I was on, myself, like I said, my teammate Brendan Dunlop at Mount St. Michael went to Virginia Tech, Kevin Morris, who ended up going to Georgia Tech, and then Georgia State, Reese Gibson, David Murray, and I could name everybody. And I don't want to leave anybody off necessarily, but the whole team went Division I. Like the whole team, like everybody, literally, like everybody on the team went Division I, and some high, mid, all of that stuff. But I think that was the thing too, because we didn't have any guys that couldn't play.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So even the guys that were coming off the bench, and I think I might have came off the bench in some tournaments, but it was just so many guys. You rotating 12, 13, 14 guys, and they're all Division I prospects.
Play, yeah.
So it was, I can remember that being crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So now going into your senior year, how do y'all plan to duplicate that junior year? I'm pretty sure you trying to go back to back, and also I know you made a commitment to Pittsburgh. When in that time frame did you decide that you're gonna take your talents over to Pitt?
Yeah, we well, I'll answer the first part. I mean, we knew that the junior year, I mean, that was special. So going into my senior year, obviously we had a couple of guys that came up from the junior varsity that were supposed to help us. That did help us. Obviously, it wasn't the same team as the year before, but we tried to implement, certain things into the offense and the schemes and things like that coach had at that time. We got to the, I believe we got to the city finals.
Okay.
But then ended up losing like on Long Island. I believe it was like St. Dominic's or something like that. We ended up losing. So we didn't go to states or anything like that. But obviously 20-something wins. It was a good season.
Great season. Right.
And like I said, I always cherish the experience of being at Mount St. Michael, and especially that junior year, because when you go in the gym and you see that yellow banner,
yes, we do.
that's that's mine, man, and that's ours.
Yeah.
So that's special. That's the only one in there. So
yes,
it's special. It was special.
As far as making your college decision.
Yeah. So I waited till the spring. I took some visits. I visited.
You was a late senior.
Yeah, I visited. And back then, I mean, you still get, well, now it's unlimited visits, right? But I got 5 visits. So I went to, I visited Villanova. I visited Providence. I visited Hawaii. Yeah. And I visited Pittsburgh. I think I only took the 4 out of the 5. Oh no, I'm sorry. I visited Florida State. How could I forget that?
Okay.
So that was 5. Yeah. So, but I ended up signing with Pitt. It came down to Villanova and Pittsburgh.
Okay.
I kind of wanted to be. I kind of wanted to play.
Committed?
Tim. I'm trying to think. It's funny because we visited Villanova together.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And God bless the dead. So Kobe Bryant, Tim Thomas, and I were on the visit together. So yeah. So that was something, because at the time Steve Lapis was the head coach, and he was he's like, yo, if you, Tim, who you guys come, we're gonna win a national championship. He's sitting in my mother's house, and this is what he's saying. So and then like that next week Kobe put his name in the draft, and then obviously fast forwarded, Tim only ended up doing 1 year. But I was gonna go to Villanova.
So what made you pick Pittsburgh over Nova? What was like the thing that pushed it in one direction rather than the other?
I was supposed to do like a I guess what you want to call it, like a follow-up visit.
Yeah.
And I think Steve was out of town. Steve Lapis was out of town, and they were trying to kind of reschedule. And I was just like so close to going to, like, it was just Pittsburgh, and it was like 50-50.
Yeah.
And it was just like, guys want me to come, and it's like, well, you know what, I'm gonna go to Pittsburgh. And at that time I had already visited Pittsburgh, and I loved it. The only thing was like Steve Lapis, obviously he's a New York guy. It was just that connection. Yeah. He knew my dad, you know what I'm saying? So it was like, that's why I was kind of holding on. But like when they told me to like reschedule and do some different things, I was just like, I'm gonna go to Pittsburgh.
Go ahead and go to Pitt.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to Pittsburgh. And I'm glad I did. It was a great experience, and I love that's second home. To this day, that's like my second home. My daughter was born there, so I love Pittsburgh, and that was a decision I made, but I think it was it was the right decision at the time. Yeah.